Welcome to fourth grade history. This is lesson 150. We're looking at pages 217 and 218 just to that comprehension check. But first, I'm going to ask a few questions and get us thinking about history, okay? What important U.S. Navy base was attacked? Pearl Harbor, very good. What country attacked Pearl Harbor in an air raid? That's right, it was Japan. What is the date of the bombing of Pearl Harbor? December 7th, 1941. Very good. What two countries then declared war on Japan? The US and Canada. Okay, we both declared war on Japan after that. Okay, so that very destructive battle, or not really a battle, but that destructive move of the Japanese to try to really stop our efforts in the South Pacific so that we wouldn't be able to send ships to the islands to help them was very brutal, and over 2,000 people died from that. And there weren't just soldiers, these naval officers or Navy personnel at these bases, but their families might have lived on the base, or some others around it. So it wasn't just military people that were attacked, but it was American lives. And so we look at that as being a very horrendous thing. And so one of the things that President Roosevelt said about it was that it was a day that would live in infamy, that we shouldn't forget it because of all the horror that took place. And so, it has lived on as something that we've remembered. And so, but victory is going to come. And so we're going to look at how this ends. So we had battles going on all sorts of places. We had different battles in different places. We had men just scattered everywhere, and groups of, sorry, I drew a blank. The units of soldiers, different units in different places. And so we had people fighting in the Pacific Ocean, on those islands, in China, the Mediterranean Sea, so that would be near Italy and all the little islands there, in Europe, in Africa, and the Atlantic Ocean. And so that would have involved some of the traveling between the countries, and so there was some war that was fought in between the countries. And so Italy was the first to surrender, and they were in 1943, and we fought them in North Africa, and they were the first to surrender to us, and they went back home. Next, we focused on Europe, trying to free France. Remember, Germany had taken control of France, and so we began attacking and bringing all of our forces that had been working on Italy now were combined to help defeat Germany. And so they finally surrendered on May 7th, 1945, which is known as VE Day, or Victory in Europe Day, okay? And so just Japan was the only country that we still were fighting against, because they were still trying to overtake and bring communism, or militarism into other places. They were trying to really rule all of Asia, and all the islands near that is what their goal was. And the military leaders were they didn't care about the citizens of Japan that were had been bombed on, and so there had been bombs on cities before what is coming, but that was it didn't bother, or it didn't make a difference to the Japanese leaders, which is really sad, because every life is precious. And so it's a very sad thing to happen. And I understand that war is sometimes necessary, but it's definitely not what I would prefer. And it's not what God had lined out when he originally created everybody. He didn't want this destructiveness, but sin brought that to us. And so the U.S. had to make a decision. We had what is known as the atomic bomb. And the atomic bomb is a very, very deadly bomb. It goes far and wide. It's very destructive, and it's not something. It's not a weapon that we use lightly. This is something that we felt like we had to do to end this war. We knew that Japan wasn't going to surrender. They had already said that. And so on August 6, 1945, an American bomber dropped an atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima. A few days later, we dropped another bomb on the city of Nagasaki, and both cities were completely destroyed. And at that moment, Japan realized that they couldn't win this war, and they quickly surrendered. And this was the largest war in history up to this point. We have not had a larger one since then, and hopefully we won't, but that is, we don't know. But World War II was the largest war in history, and it was now over. But afterwards, they were going and trying to clean things up. They found some very, very awful things, concentration camps throughout Europe, and they were prison camps. But they weren't just prisoners; they were tortured, and many, many, many people killed. It was over 6 million, about 6 million Jews and many other nationalities that the Germans felt were not, they were beneath them. That's what they said. And that's very awful. But, that's what Hitler was trying to tell the people, was that Germany was the supreme race, and that they were better than everyone else. And so they hated Jews, they hated Christians, they hated anyone that had either mental or physical deformities. If you wore glasses, I wear contacts, you weren't perfect. And so they hated people like that. And that was Hitler, and he got people to think poorly of those that were different or maybe had something wrong with them. And that's awful, because that's not how we should view people. As the Bible says, that everyone is created by God, and God doesn't look kindly on people that look down on others. And so we don't want to have that. But one thing that was good in America from this war is that we had a spirit of unity and patriotism, and people were coming together to help each other. And it was really something that we were able to, we left this war as the most powerful nation in the world. And we were blessed because we actually didn't have any cities besides Pearl Harbor, which was a military base, but we didn't have any American cities besides that we had war fought here, like the European countries and the Asian countries and even Africa. And so, you know, we were blessed by that, and we are, there were many things that were going to happen to help the other countries. And so that was, we used our lack of, we used our resources because we didn't have to rebuild some of our things to help some of the other countries. And so there was a lot that we did after that. And we'll be talking about that later. So I'll let you go ahead and do the comprehension check on page 218 on paper. And then you, and we'll read those 2 pages again, and then do that comprehension check, and then I will see you in the next lesson.